Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. Jeremy joined here by Andrew. We're on the same couch. We haven't done this in a long time. You're kind of out of frame. You guys scoot here. I'm gonna push this back a little bit.
Okay.
And you guys scoot a little closer because we need all of you in the frame. There we go. Camera even refocused. If you're new to the show, be ready for some tangents because that happens. But you know what else happens here on Martial Arts Radio? We do 2 episodes a week. We talk about everything going on in the martial arts. We interview guests. Sometimes there's even a dog. There's the dog.
Oh, that's a dog.
But on this episode, we are going to talk about my personal feelings, and I actually don't know where you lie on this subject yet, which is probably best. I really dislike the usage of the term master and grandmaster within the context of martial arts. And I'm going to explain to you why, and it's probably not the reason that you think it is. Now, if you're new to what we do, please visit whistlekickmartialartsradio.com. Check out everything that we've got going on there. And if you want to go even deeper, because we've got all kinds of stuff. We've got free training days, Martial Summit, apparel, what else do we do? Matic, teacher training. So many things that we do to connect, educate, and entertain the traditional martial artists of the world. You can visit whistlekick.com. That's where we've got all of that stuff. Hope to see you at an event sometime soon. And with that, Andrew, let's talk about the terms master, grandmaster, senior grandmaster, anything with the word master worked into it. And I want to start by acknowledging that in a lot of martial arts, this is a term that carries a lot of tradition.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I would agree. And there are a lot of reasons why it is given out.
Sure.
Sometimes you don't have a choice.
Yep. It is a title that expresses, I would say, seniority.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this is where I should probably say, some people have an issue with this term because of, if there's a master, there's a suggestion that there is somebody who is subordinate, often slave. And in fact, something that a lot of you may not know, back in the day with computer hard drives, when you had 2 on a chain, on a channel, you all remember your 40-pin ribbon cables? Some of you do. The way you would address on the bus, one versus the other, was master and slave. And that actually, there was a large campaign to change that. I'm out of the IT world now, but it also became a little bit irrelevant as things shifted in the technology. And so that's where I think a lot of people go. And I know some schools and individuals have pulled back on the term master because it historically, culturally, it connotes if there's a master, there is a slave. And we know that there are plenty of martial arts schools out there, but a shrinking percentage that will treat students, ironically enough, the senior students, as if they are the servants to the head of the school or the organization.
Yep.
Now, most of my experience is in Japanese arts, but I've got more experience in non-Japanese, Okinawan arts, I think, than you do.
That's correct. Yep.
My perception has always been that term is far less used in Japanese and Okinawan lineages.
I would 1,000% agree. In fact, I don't know. I can't think of many Okinawan or Japanese schools that use the term master or grandmaster. It's just not common. I didn't first get introduced to it until, it's not the only school that does it, but Taekwondo schools often use it. And that's where I first heard of the term.
Yeah. So why don't I like this term? I don't like this term because when we think about the use of the word master in English, if you are a master, it suggests you have mastered.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And very simply, there's more. If you've mastered something, it suggests, especially to people who have just started, that you are not significantly involved in progressing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that you have already reached the pinnacle. Yeah.
Now, do I believe that most people who hold title of Master, Grandmaster, Senior Grandmaster, Super Supreme, Grandmaster being are done training? No, I actually don't believe that. And that's exactly why I dislike the term.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think words should reflect action. Words should describe the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if we know that most people are going to use the term master, mastered, mastery to express that you have reached the pinnacle, and that is not the case, that is not the right term.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's take this out of martial arts for a moment. If I tell you that I'm a master electrician or a master plumber,
Mm-hmm.
there's a significant amount of time. There's testing that goes into that for those of you who are unaware, and it's a lot of hours. Now, I'm gonna get it wrong, but I know it's many, many, many years. If I remember correctly, it's somewhere on the order of 10 to 20 years.
Could be. I don't know.
If I'm wrong, don't check me. If you're concerned, go look it up. There's a certain number of hours that you have to have in. There's a test you have to take, etc. And I know that if somebody comes to me and they say, I'm a master electrician and these are my, my employees, they're journeymen, that guy over there is an apprentice, that gives me some idea of how things are run. And in my mind, the master electrician is making sure everybody else does their job. Is teaching them. If you come to me and you say, I'm a master chef, I imagine that you are spending your time teaching other people. You are probably not taking classes with other people. You're probably not spending a lot of time in research. Does that?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, chef is not going to fit in with the electrician and plumber. But here's what I'm thinking. Within plumbing, there, to a degree, there's only so much you can know. Plumbing doesn't change a whole lot, right? Once you know, quote unquote, I'm putting this in air quotes for people not watching, once you know everything about plumbing, you've become a master because there's nothing else to learn. But we all know in martial arts, there's never an end. Right. And here's
this is a good point.
Here's the thing here's why I don't like the term, and it's the same reasons as you. But I know many martial arts schools that once you hit 4th degree black belt, you are considered a master.
Like Taekwondo lineage,
and you are now master whatever.
Yep.
If that's the case, there should be no 5th degree black belt.
Yeah, that's kind of how
like
I feel
if you're a master, if you've mastered everything, there should be no, once you get to 4th and you're now a master, there shouldn't be a 5th.
I know some schools that awarded it 5th. I know some schools, I've heard of some schools that awarded it 3rd. They treat it kind of like the way you and I might use the term sensei in karate lineage.
And so that's what I have a problem with it. Whereas master electrician, master plumber, again, that's not to say the electrical field and the plumbing fields aren't growing and evolving, but the rate that it's growing and evolving is very small. There's never...
The product changes, the code changes, the physics doesn't change.
Correct. And it's not the same with martial arts. Now, going back to chef, you could make the argument you can always be experimenting and learning interesting new things with chef. So I'm a little torn on that one. But in terms of martial arts, that's the thing that I don't get. And it becomes very subjective and arbitrary. Like, oh, here's your belt. You now have a title.
Okay. My theory on this, and I've dug a little bit, and we've talked about this a couple times on Martial Arts Radio over the years with guests. In my opinion, in the same way that sensei gets translated to teacher, which is, to my mind, a lazy translation.
That is
because
correct.
It misses a lot of the nuance and where the summation of the translation I'm happy with is one who has gone before.
That's correct.
And that's a translation that I think more and more people are getting comfortable with, and I think that's great because it changes the dynamic. Student and sensei, I've been doing this longer. I've learned some things you haven't. I am sharing my information with you rather than a one-directional relationship. Because anybody who's spent time in the front of the room knows they're learning from their students.
Oh, sure.
Right? My completely unqualified opinion, no, it's a qualified opinion. I am not an expert in the Korean language. But when I dig into the terms, that's what seems to be happening. Now, if somebody out there knows more about this, please, I want to hear from you because I want to kind of put this to bed one way or the other in my own mind. But the terms that I'm aware of are sabum, sabanim, kyosanim, like these Korean titles, and none of them that I've looked up really are, this means master. It's more, this is the senior instructor of the school. This is someone who is charged with instruction, right? Like, sabum seems to sort of translate more to like a sensei, and sabumnim seems to translate more to like Kihan, maybe Hanfu in Japanese. And you can see if you have a master and that person's awarded that rank at, 3rd, 4th, 5th degree and your rank system goes up to 8, 9, 10, 14, then you need something above that. So that's where we get Grandmaster, that's where we get Senior Grandmaster, and we get Superior Grandmaster. I've seen all of these. And to me, all the rest of the words around there, if we look at the literal English, seem redundant and maybe even contradictory. Right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to come up with a great alternative outside of the martial arts. Like, if I said you're the best,
am I the best of the best?
If you want to be.
Okay.
But then I said somebody else was really the best.
Yeah.
You're not the best.
Yeah. You just put me down.
I've leveraged in pecking order.
Yep.
And it's also as a similar, this is where the acronym that's become a noun, GOAT, I find frustrating. Greatest of all time. These three are the greatest of all time. Okay, but really that term's meant to be about one person. And bonus trivia for you. You know who coined that term?
I don't know.
LL Cool J. The title of an album, Greatest of All Time. And it became a word from that. But when somebody says, like, oh, these are the GOAT, it's like, okay, so if you are a master, it suggests to me that out of everybody that would be looking at that is doing that same thing, you are the one who has reached the pinnacle of knowledge, and there's really nowhere else for you to go, so you share the information with everyone.
Yeah.
Now, you could make a case that is what is happening in a school if you have a master, but if you've got 17 masters in a martial arts school, that kind of breaks that idea.
Yeah. And we all know you can't, like, the most highest ranked and the best martial artist of all time is Master Ken.
Right.
And so how can anyone be master unless you're Master Ken?
Unless you are Master Ken. Right. Obviously that is a joke for those of you who have no sense of humor.
Thank you.
So here's where I want to leave this. This is an opinion. It is not an attack. I have a lot of great friends that use this title.
Me too.
I don't think any less of them for their use of the title. To me, it is similar to, I have great friends who eat terrible food sometimes. Food that we know is not good for them.
I'm sitting right next to you.
I still love these friends dearly. Sure. It doesn't change anything in how I look at you. I wish you didn't do it, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
Yep.
Right. Same idea.
Well, and I think the other thing to keep in mind is that for a lot of these people, they are issued or given the title, they didn't have any say in the matter.
Right.
They just are master whomever because their school said so.
Right.
They didn't have a choice.
Right.
And I think, we're not saying that the title, like, that you are a bad person for having the title. I think this episode, if anything, is just meant to be more of a, as Arsenio Hall would say, things that make you go,
That is an old reference.
It is an old reference, but I think it bears some weight. Like, it is interesting. Like, is that a term that is still relevant today? Was it ever really? I think the master-slave analogy is an interesting one that, to be honest, I hadn't thought of. And as soon as you mentioned IT, like, I was like, oh yeah, okay, master. Like, I remember that. So
here's what I would love to see. I would love to see people pick up the foreign language terms that are appropriate for what you train and use those, because I think that words have meaning. You don't always control the meaning of a word to another person. Martial arts should be for everyone. The use of that term can be considered could be seen as a barrier by some. And at the end of the day, that's a gendered term. If you're a woman and you use the term master, I think that's silly.
Why?
Because what's the alternative?
Yeah. Yeah,
and that's why we're not using that word, because that word has another meaning.
No, you're right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yep.
So, just something, as you said, to think about. Would love to have your feedback on this. And if I am always willing and love to have my mind changed. So if you have things that you feel about this, please drop them in comments. We put these episodes everywhere. Find it on YouTube. If you're watching, you're probably watching on YouTube. If you are watching or listening to this in any variety of Spotify, take comments. Yeah, like let's do that. Let's get some conversation going. Now, if you simply want to say I'm wrong and stupid, you're welcome to your opinion, but I'm not going to respond to that. Right? So, thank you everyone for watching, for listening to this episode. And remember, whistlekick.com for all the things that we do, all of the events and the products and the services and the things that we do for schools to help schools grow, the things that we do for people to help people grow, and Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio for the transcripts and all the other good stuff like that. Until next time, train hard, smile, and have a great day. It's so much easier when we're in the same room.